Look at how you handled it this time. Not perfectly, not effortlessly, but differently. You felt it, yes. That familiar pull in your chest. That quiet drop in your stomach. That moment where the past seemed closer than you wanted it to be. For a second it scared you, because it felt familiar. And familiar can feel like proof that nothing has changed. But pause here. Look at what actually happened next. You didn't react the way you used to. Maybe your mind tried to spiral, but you noticed it sooner. Maybe your emotions rose quickly, but they didn't take over the entire day. Maybe you needed a moment. Maybe you needed quiet. Maybe you felt shaken, but you stayed present. That matters more than it feels like right now. It's easy at 1 a.m. to measure progress only by whether something hurt. If it hurt, the mind says, "See, I'm back where I started." But growth isn't measured by the absence of emotion. It's measured by the way you move through it. Triggers don't always announce themselves. They slip in softly. A sentence that sounded too familiar. A look that reminded you of something old. A pause in someone's voice. A memory that surfaced without permission. Nothing dramatic. Just enough to touch a place that used to feel fragile. And when that place responds, your first instinct might be disappointment. I thought I was past this. But being past something doesn't always mean never feeling it again. Sometimes it means feeling it and not losing yourself inside it. Think back to how this would have felt before. Earlier, a moment like this might have stayed with you for days. You might have replayed every detail, questioned everything, felt swallowed by the emotion. It might have affected how you spoke, how you slept, how you saw yourself. You might not have had language for it yet, just a heavy feeling, and the sense that something was wrong. But now you notice. You recognize the pattern. You can name the feeling. You can say, "This reminds me of something," instead of, "This is happening all over again." That's emotional maturity. Quiet, unflashy, easy to overlook, but real. Maturity doesn't mean you stop feeling. It means you understand what you feel while it's happening, and that understanding creates space. Space between the trigger and your reaction. Space between the thought and your belief in it. Space between the feeling and your identity. You might still feel uncomfortable, but you're not consumed. That difference is subtle. So subtle that your mind might dismiss it. Because part of you still expects growth to feel obvious, to feel like a clean break, to feel like one day you wake up and nothing from the past touches you anymore. But real growth is quieter than that. It looks like pausing instead of reacting instantly, breathing instead of panicking, reflecting instead of assuming the worst, letting the feeling pass through instead of letting it define the moment. Those things don't feel dramatic. They feel small, but small changes reshape your life. You might still worry that the feeling returning means something failed, that maybe you didn't heal as much as you thought. But healing revisits layers, not to undo your work, to show you how differently you meet the same place now. Earlier, you met it with confusion. Now you meet it with awareness. Earlier, you met it with urgency. Now you meet it with patience. Earlier, you met it with self-blame. Now maybe you meet it with curiosity. That shift is growth, even if the emotion itself feels familiar. Familiar emotion doesn't equal unchanged self. You're not the same person, experiencing the same feeling. You're a different person, noticing an old feeling, with new understanding. That matters. Sometimes the brain mistakes familiarity for regression. It says, I've felt this before, so nothing changed. But imagine revisiting a place you once got lost in. The streets look the same. The buildings look the same. But this time, you know the way out. You know where the turns are. You know where you felt stuck last time. You know what to avoid. The place didn't change. You did. Tonight might be like that. The feeling showed up, but you didn't disappear inside it. You stayed aware. You observed it. You kept your footing. That's not going backward. That's walking through the same space, with stronger balance. Subtle strength rarely feels impressive. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't feel like a victory speech. It feels like quiet steadiness. In moments that once felt overwhelming, you might think, but I still felt shaken. Yes, strength doesn't mean never feeling shaken. It means not losing your center completely. When you came back to yourself faster this time. Even if faster meant hours instead of days. Even if it meant sitting quietly and letting the feeling move through you, instead of fighting it. That's growth in motion. You might not celebrate it. You might barely notice it. But it's there. Invisible strength is still strength. There's also something else happening. As you grow, your awareness sharpens. You notice subtler emotional shifts. Things you once ignored now feel more visible. That can make it seem like you're more affected. But often, you're just more conscious. And consciousness can feel intense because you're no longer numbing automatically. That's not regression. That's presence. Presence feels softer, more open, sometimes more vulnerable, but also more real. So tonight, instead of asking, why am I still feeling this? Try asking, how did I handle this compared to before? Look honestly. Did you pause sooner? Did you speak to yourself more gently? Did you avoid spiraling into the same harsh conclusions? Did you give yourself space instead of forcing yourself to be fine? Those are not small things. Those are signs of evolution. Quiet evolution. The kind that doesn't change the outside instantly, but transforms the inside steadily. You might still wish the feeling didn't come at all. That's understandable. But the goal of healing was never to erase emotion. It was to change your relationship with it. And tonight, your relationship looked different. More aware, more grounded, more compassionate. That matters. Here's something to consider gently now. What if you've grown more than you see? Let that question sit. Not as pressure, not as forced positivity, just as a possibility. What if the progress you're looking for is already happening, just in quieter forms than you expected? What if growth isn't the absence of old feelings, but the presence of new responses? What if the fact that you noticed your reaction, reflected on it, and stayed with yourself through it, is the proof? You don't have to feel completely healed tonight. You don't have to feel proud. You just have to recognize that something inside you handled this moment differently. And different is enough. You didn't go backward. You moved through something familiar, with a new version of yourself. That's forward, even if it felt messy, even if it felt uncertain, even if it didn't feel like progress in the moment. Growth often looks like this. Quiet, Gradual, almost invisible, until one day you realize you survived something calmly that once would have unraveled you. Maybe tonight is one of those days. You don't need to force meaning from it. Just notice. You stayed. You felt. You didn't disappear. That's strength. And it's yours now, whether you fully see it yet or not.